तीरा बनचारी यमुना तीरा बनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन बल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरा बनचारी हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय राधा श्याम सुंदर राधे जय राधा श्याम सुंदर राधे जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय गौर प्रेमानंदे
जय
हरि हरि
हरे
हरि हरि
हरे
बोल।
बोल।
Hare Krishna. Are we ready, Rasraj Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, thank you for that beautiful kirtan. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. So today we will continue reading Bhagavad Gita, chapter 17 and text number 20. We'll try to do 3 texts, pretty small purports. So anyone who can, please repeat after me. 1 second before we do that. Let me do Mangalacharana. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yatkrapatamaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Krishna Chaitanyam Ishwaram Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I just wrapped up a meeting with my coworker, so my mind is still thinking of that meeting. All right, chapter number 17, verse number 20. Those who can, please repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om
Om Namo
Om Bhagavate
Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
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 Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om
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 Namo
Namo
Bhagavate
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 Vasudevaya.
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 Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om
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 Namo
Namo
Bhagavate
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 Vasudevaya.
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 Daatavyamiti yaddanam.
Datavayamiti
Dasavyamiti
Dattanam.
Yaddanam.
Daatavyamiti yaddanam.
Datayamiti
Dasavyamiti
Dasavyamidiyaddanam
Yattanam.
Yaddanam.
Diyate
Diyete
Pakarine.
Nupakarine.
Nupakarine.
Diyete
Diyatenupakarine
Nupakarine.
Deshe kale cha patre cha.
Deshe
Deshe
Kale
Kale
Deshe
Cha
Chapatre
Kale
Patre
Cha.
Cha.
Cha
Deshe kale cha patre cha.
Deshe
Deshe
Kale
Kale
Cha
Chapatre
Chapatre
Patre
Cha.
Cha.
Cha
Taddanam satvikam smritam.
Taddanam
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 Satvikam
Shadvikam
Satvikam
Smritam.
Smritam
Smritam.
Taddanam satvikam smritam.
Taddanam
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 Shadvikam
Satvikam
Smritam.
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 Would anyone like to chant?
Tatavyam iti yaddanam.
Datavyamiti
Taddyamiti Yadyanam.
yaddanam.
Diyate nupakarine.
Diyate
Diyete Nupakarine.
nupakarine.
Deshe Kale Cha Patre Cha.
Deshe
Deshe
Kale
kale cha
Chapatre
patre
Cha.
cha.
Taddanam Satvikam Smritam.
Taddanam
Taddanam
satvikam
Satvikam Smritam.
smritam.
दातव्यम् इति यद्दानं
Taddyamiti
Datavyamiti
Yadyanam.
yaddanam.
दीयते नुपर्करिणे
Diyete
Diyate
Nupakarine.
nupakarine.
देशे कले च पत्रे च
Deshe
Deshe
Kale
kale cha
Chapatre
patre
Cha.
cha.
तद्दानं सात्विकं स्मृतम्
Taddanam
Taddanam
Shadvikam
satvikam
Smritam.
smritam. One more devotee, please.
Yeah. Tadvyam iti yaddanam.
Datavyam
Datavyam
iti
iti yaddanam.
yaddanam.
Diyate nupakarine.
Diyate
Diyate
nupakarine.
nupakarine.
Deshe Kale Chapatre Cha.
Deshe
Deshe
kale
Kale
cha
Cha
patre
Patre Cha.
cha.
Taddanam Shadvikam Smritam.
Taddanam
Taddanam
satvikam
Satvikam Smritam.
smritam. So we'll do word for word. Datavyam,
Datavyam.
Datavyam.
worth giving.
Worth
Worth
giving.
giving.
Iti,
Iti.
Iti.
thus.
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 Yat,
Yat.
Yet.
that which.
That
That
which.
which.
Danam,
Danam.
Dhanam.
charity.
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 Diyate,
Diyate.
Diyate.
is given.
Is
Is given.
given.
Anupakarine,
Anupakarine.
Anupakarine.
irrespective of return.
Irrespective
Irrespective
of
of
return.
return.
Deshe,
Deshe.
Deshe.
in a proper place.
In a
In a
proper
proper
place.
place.
Kale,
Kale.
Kale.
at a proper time.
At
At
a
a
proper
proper time.
time.
Cha,
Cha.
Cha.
also.
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 Patre,
Patre.
Patre.
to a suitable person.
To
To
a
a suitable
suitable person.
person.
Cha,
Cha.
Cha.
and.
And
And
Tat,
Tat.
Tat.
that.
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 Danam,
Danam.
Dhanam.
charity.
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 Satvikam,
Sadvikam.
Satvikam.
in the mode of goodness.
In the
In the
mode
mode
of
of
goodness.
goodness.
Smritam,
Smritam.
Smritam.
is considered.
Is
Is
considered.
considered.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Charity given out of duty without expectation of return at the proper time and place, and to a worthy person is considered to be in the mode of goodness. Purport. In the Vedic literature, charity given to a person engaged in spiritual activities is recommended. There is no recommendation for giving charity indiscriminately. Spiritual perfection is always a consideration. Therefore, charity is recommended to be given at a place of pilgrimage and at lunar or solar eclipses, or at the end of the month, or to a qualified Brahmana or a Vaishnava devotee, or in temples. Such charity should be given without any consideration of return. Charity to the poor is sometimes given out of compassion. But if a poor man is not worth giving charity to, then there is no special advancement. In other words, indiscriminate charity is not recommended in the Vedic literature. So this is a very nice topic, charity in different modes, particularly for devotees, because naturally this is part of devotees' life, to help others and to give charity to people. So the Sanskrit word dhanam comes from the verbal root, da, to give. And all of these words, dhanam, diyate, datavyam, they all have the origin in the same root. That giving, which should be given for the sake of giving, right? Give. So we know this word from many places. For example, in Upadeshamrita, dadati pratigrihnati. There also it comes. So dadati means to give. So this giving, charity, before we get into who should receive, we can talk about who can give, right? So in general, who can give charity? Anyone have any?
Anybody, Prabhu, in the mode of goodness?
Yes, anyone can give charity, right? Anyone can give charity.
In the 18th chapter, it is mentioned everybody should give charity.
Yes,
including
right?
the sannyasis.
Yes. So yajna, dana, tapa, pavanani, manishina. Right? Sacrifice, charity, and austerity. It will purify everybody, right? But particularly, all of them can give, but some people, they'll give what actually they got in charity, then they give it to others. But specifically in the 16th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, when the divine qualities were mentioned, there were many different qualities that were mentioned in there. But when it comes to the point of charity, it's a fact that everyone will give. But specifically, this charity is recommended for grihasthas, householders. The reason is, as soon as you own a house, you're a householder, grihastha, that means you have some means of livelihood and you're earning something. And therefore, specifically, grihasthas, it is their duty to perform this charity among all the social divisions, brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, and sannyasi. It is the grihasthas who accumulate wealth. Brahmacharis are just going out and living with guru, begging here and there. And sannyasis, same thing, vanaprasthas, same thing. So it is the grihasthas who provide for these other three classes. And of course, the other three also, when they get in charity, they share and they also give that out. So I assume most of the audience here were all grihasthas. So this topic is very important for the grihasthas, giving charity. And in the Vedic culture, this is taught from the beginning, right? In particularly, we may not see that in the Western civilization. Of course, earlier in the Western civilization also this concept would be there. But if you have lived in villages in India, it's very common.
Srinivasacharya Prabhuji.
Who is speaking? Does someone want to say
Open
something?
mic. Yeah.
Okay. So you see that in India it's common for some mendicants come and knock on the door and ask for some charity. So I grew up in a village until I was 6 years old. So we used to take some grain and give it to them. Usually it's grains that we used to give in charity. So we are taught from the beginning this concept of giving. And now we teach our children, right? Sharing is caring. Right from the beginning, we try to cultivate some good habits in children that, hey, you have to share with somebody else, whatever you have, whether you're toys or something. And eventually it gets to the concept of giving. And you find this in other traditions also. In Mormons, there's tithe. You have to give, if you want to be part of the church, you must give 10% of your of whatever you make. So this is a very important concept. So now in here, in these 3 verses, Krishna is talking about how to give. So now we know that particularly it's the grihasthas who are giving, and now what is the mood in which we should give, and who are the recipients of this giving. So in this purport and translation, the topic of the mood in which we give, the time, the place, and the recipient, these 4 things are discussed. So the mood in which we should give, in the mode of goodness, is it has to be done out of duty. Right? So this is what is our duty, what is our dharma, and just we do it because it has to be done. Datavyam iti diyate. And then without expectation of any return. Anupakarine, that means we may not get something in return back. We are doing this and then we will get it back. So that mood is not there. So these 2 points in terms of the motivation is, we do it as a duty, it is my dharma, particularly for a grihastha, it's my dharma, and then when I do it, I'm not doing it because I'm going to get something out of it. And then time, place, and the recipient. So now Srila Prabhupada specifically emphasizes on the recipient throughout his lectures and stuff, more than the proper time and place. He emphasizes more on who we are giving it to. So the recipient of the charity should always be a person who is a devotee of the Lord. And this is very important because if you remember in the 9th chapter, Yat karoshi yadashnasi yat juhosi dadasi yat tapasyasi kaunteya tat kurushva madarpana. So in that he says several different things, whatever you eat, whatever austerities you perform, but yet dadasi, whatever you give in charity, tat kurushva madarpanam, it should be for me, right, as an offering to me. So that means in the charity, Krishna is the center. Krishna is the recipient. That's one point. Krishna is the recipient of that, the ultimate beneficiary recipient of that whole thing. Second point is, who does everything, belong to? Anyways, right? Everything belongs to Krishna. Ishavasyamidam sarvam. So what can we even give to anybody, because everything belongs to Krishna? So one time, one devotee told me that in Pune, he or maybe he was from Pune, but probably actually he was in Chowpatty at that time. This was a long time ago, year 2000. So he said they went to collect some money, and one person said, how can I give any charity? Everything belongs to God anyways. And he refused to give anything. So that's not our mode. Everything belongs to Krishna, therefore everything must be engaged in Krishna's service. But who can engage it in Krishna's service? It is the Vaishnavas. It is the Brahmanas, qualified Brahmanas, Vaishnavas. They can engage everything in Krishna's service. Therefore, they are the true, they have the right to receive charity. Not everyone can receive charity. Even the Kshatriyas cannot receive charity. The modern day politicians, now you go on the YouTube and there's a campaign and you get the video, the Democrats and the Republicans asking for funding. But in truth, Kshatriyas cannot ask for charity. Only Brahmanas, only the devotees, they are the recipients of charity. And Prabhupada also mentions briefly about the time and place. And the place is a place of pilgrimage, a temple. That's where the charity can be given. And what do you do if you see a great sannyasi, a great devotee, but you are not situated at the temple? But there's also a saying that tirthi kurvanti tirthani. It is actually the saints, they make a place holy. In their heart, gadabhrita, in their heart they carry the holder of the club. They carry the Lord in their heart, the devotees. So naturally, wherever they are a devotee, a pure devotee, then it will be like a temple. So a pure devotees are recipients of charity. So in terms of time, Srila Prabhupada is mentioning lunar or solar eclipse at the end of the month. And there are many auspicious months like Kartika, right now it is Purushottama Masa. So there are many, there are auspicious times like this. So in those times particularly, charity can be given. Akshaya Tritiya, it is encouraged to give at those times. So these are the considerations in this particular verse. So we'll go to next two verses as well, and then we'll kind of come back and discuss a little more in a summary form. So the next verse, yattu pratyupakarartham phalamuddishya va punah diyate cha pariklishtam taddanam rajasam smritam. But charity performed with the expectation of some return or with a desire for fruitive results or in a grudging mood is said to be charity in the mode of passion. Purport: charity is sometimes performed for elevation to the heavenly kingdom and sometimes with great trouble and with repentance afterwards. Why have I spent so much money in this way? Charity is also sometimes given under some obligation at the request of a superior. These kinds of charity are said to be given in the mode of passion. There are many charitable foundations which offer their gifts to institutions where sense gratification goes on. Such charities are not recommended in the Vedic scripture. Only charity in the mode of goodness is recommended. So now this is charity in the mode of passion. In the charity in the mode of passion, there is expectation of something in return. So one time I was in Vrindavan and with some friends. We went to one temple, and then there was a ceiling fan. It was a very small temple, and there's so many temples in Vrindavan, thousands of temples, literally small places. So we were at one of those places, and there was a fan, and on the fan the name of the donor was written on the ceiling fan. So at that time, then we looked up, and there was one friend with me. He was a resident of Vrindavan. He was living in Vrindavan for many years, and at this time I was also living there for a few months. And then he told me a joke. So we saw the fan, and the fan was turned off. There was no need to turn it on at that time. But he told me a joke that one time a lot of people were sitting over there and the fan was spinning. And then one guy, he went and turned off the fan. And then the other guy, he went and turned it back on. Then this one guy, he kept on turning off. Then this guy got mad. Why are you turning up the fan? It's so hot here. And that guy who was turning off, he said, if you turn the fan off, how can you see my name over there? I was the one who donated it. So it's a joke, but the point is that mood that I am doing it for getting something in return, either recognition or something else. So that mood, the charity given in that mood, even though it may be given at a right place, then it's considered to be charity in the mode of passion. And sometimes, like Srila Prabhupada is saying here, out of obligation someone may give. It's because everyone else is giving, and if I don't give, it doesn't look good. But we may repent why I have given, right? So grudgingly. And this is also charity in the mode of passion. And Prabhupada is also talking about there are many institutions that may give charity where sense gratification goes on. So that is also not recommended. And Prabhupada also talks about in other places, we have schools and hospitals, and they're also doing something good. But Prabhupada considers that according to these verses as charity in the mode of passion, because it's not exactly for spiritual advancement. So these are all charities considered in the mode of passion. So the next one, adesha kale yaddanam apadrebhyascha diyate asatkritam avagnatam tat tamasam udahritam. And charity performed at an impure place, at an improper time, to unworthy person, or without proper attention and respect, is said to be in the mode of ignorance. Purport. Contributions for indulgence in intoxication and gambling are not encouraged here. That sort of contribution is in the mode of ignorance. Such charity is not beneficial. Rather, sinful persons are encouraged. Similarly, if a person gives charity to a suitable person, but without respect and without attention, that sort of charity is also said to be in the mode of darkness. So now let's talk about giving charity to unworthy persons. So can anyone think of some examples of unworthy recipients of charity?
One time, like a drunkard donated his liquor to another drunkard.
Yes. That's charity in the mode of ignorance, right? And if you look up, I need money for my weed. Need money for weed. Yeah, you can search in Google, you'll find lots of pictures, right? Holding placards and I need money for weed or money for beer. Or in India, you may see they may beg, "Sab, 2 rupee chai, 2 rupees chahiye, chai ke liye chahiye 2 rupees. I want 2 rupees for tea." And of course, many people may not consider tea as intoxicant, but it is. Srila Prabhupada in Nectar of Instruction, he cites tea as one of those things. So these are charities in the mode of ignorance. And one particular thing that's very popular in this country is Thanksgiving. And the place I work at, we donate for Thanksgiving so much turkey or ham, turkey or ham is donated. And a lot of times they don't advertise that much. And at the end of that Thanksgiving period, or they have 1 week, you can go pick up your turkey or ham. And if you don't pick up, then they donate it for different charities so that on Thanksgiving Day they can have this meal. And a lot of employees, they don't take it, and because no one even pays attention that this is going on, you get an email that they let it go, and at the end they send an email saying, thank you for your generosity, you didn't pick up your turkey, we donated it to so and so places, these places, old age homes, or some shelters, so we gave it to these places, thank you for your charity. So for first couple of years I didn't pay attention to these emails, and then one day I said, what is this? You donated turkey on my name? So from next year onwards, they also have a $10 gift card. You can even take that. So but you have to get that gift card, you have to stand in that line, and they'll give you turkey, and the next person, then they'll give a gift card. But in the beginning, I was really fanatical about it. I was like, I'm not going to see you, stand in the line and you're giving turkey to everybody. And I didn't like that. So I just sent them an email. Hey, I'm a vegetarian. I don't like to even see everybody, you're tossing turkey to them. It's called turkey toss. So can you just mail it to me? And they were kind, and they mailed it to me. And eventually, now I go when there's nobody over there, and then I just get my gift card. Sometimes I even forget to use the gift card, but then I put a reminder. I go get something, and the only thing you can get in that gift card is a water bottle or a coffee mug. So I had a collection of water bottles. Then I would give that water bottle to somebody, because I didn't want to be responsible for giving a turkey on my behalf. I would rather give a water bottle to somebody, because it is mode of ignorance, giving this kind of charity, because what we are giving is not right, and the recipient is going to eat turkey, and we are giving turkey. So that's not good. It's sinful, and it is not encouraged. And then there's another important thing in this verse, which is charity given without proper respect and attention. So now this is something interesting. What does this mean? So in the Vedic culture, when charity is given, the recipient is actually respected. You not only give the charity, like even to this day, when my father, when he gives charity, for the in Pitru Paksha, or you can give charity in the name of the ancestors on the day they passed away also. So my father gives it on the day they passed away. So he goes to the temple and then he gives charity. And he gives it for his mother, his grandmother, his father, for so many, he remembers all of them, and he does this activity. And he gathers all these grains and vegetables and sugar and so many different things and some money. He goes to the temple and then he gives to the priest, and then he pays him prostrated obeisances, and with humility then he gives this charity. So this is very important, not just giving but what happens is, in the modern day, we think the person who is giving, he thinks he's superior, and the person, okay, because that person, he has nothing, then I'm giving. But that's not the point. Actually, you consider the person who you are giving to is actually superior to you, because he's an advanced devotee. To him we are giving charity. So therefore, that humility must be there in the act of charity, and there should be respect given. And the acharyas explain, you should pay obeisances, you should wash the feet, or even perform arati. There are so many of these things are there. Even in giving this charity in a normal Vedic ceremony, for example, there may be a wedding, or there may be some other function in which charity is happening. I don't know if this is the case across the India. It must be at some point of time. But even to this day in South India, say somebody visits your home and they got married. So you make them seated. You give them a seat. They sit properly. And then you take a towel or a shawl and you wrap it, around them. And they give them some tilak. And then they literally, put it in their lap, and then they bow down and they pay respects. So because charity is not just some negligent activity, out of just carelessly we are giving, considering we are so great. No, actually we are respecting the recipient and then we are giving the charity. So this is something very important, at least for our generation and the next generation to teach. The idea of charity may be there, but we need to understand the recipient is, someone who is respectable, and it cannot be done out of neglect. And sometimes it may happen, people, big businesses or somebody who is donating, they may be thinking, oh, I'm just doing you a favor, here you go, here is your check. And if it is done in that mood, it is also considered to be charity in the mode of ignorance. So these are, different motivations of charity and who we can give to in these three verses. And there are other things, particularly for devotees, we can talk about, which is for a devotee, there's also a prescription of giving charity. Of course, I would say a recommendation. It's not mandatory. I remember at some point of time, there was a discussion among ISKCON leaders that should we mandate all the ISKCON devotees who are initiated that they must give certain amount of charity. And I guess the recommendation was it's not a good idea because someone may have enough, someone may not. It's better to do it on a encourage voluntary donation. But however, we see directions in the scriptures, what Srila Prabhupada has given us in the Upadeshamrita. He gives the example of Rupa Goswami. Does anyone know that example of Rupa Goswami? Giving charity?
Yes, Prabhu, I think he divides his wealth in different percentages and gives it out. A part he keeps it for himself, a part he donates, and a part he gives to his. But that example, if you see, he gives it when he is kind of renouncing.
Yes.
So not at a stage where we are. So I always had that. Should we give charity now, or once we renounce, that time we can, just divide whatever we have.
Yes, it's a good point. Same thought I had as well. So I asked my spiritual master, and he said some practical thing, right? So nowadays it's also, if you get $100, first, it goes to, you pay in taxes, right? Uncle Sam, some money goes in taxes, and then it goes in for mortgage, and then for insurance. So many things. So my Guru Maharaj said, pay your bills. Once you're done with having a roof, right? And you pay your bills. And then from that, you can, of course, Grihasthas, Srila Prabhupada said, Grihasthas can save money. Grihasthas, they are allowed to have some savings. So you take from paying all the bills, okay, you see if you can spend 50% of that on Krishna conscious activities. Either you may be giving directly to the temple, or you may be cooking prasadam and distributing, or you may be spending in such a way that you're helping your relatives advance in Krishna consciousness. taking them on pilgrimage, or do something. Use it for Krishna, spreading Krishna consciousness. Use it for spreading Krishna consciousness. So this is our charity. Our charity is to use the wealth for spreading Krishna consciousness. Of course, we should also think about supporting the other members in our society, supporting the temples, supporting the sannyasis, supporting the brahmacharis. So this is our responsibility. The grihasthas should take this responsibility to help the senior devotees who have retired and somehow dedicated their life for Krishna consciousness, and now they need some help. The sannyasis are devotees who may have some situation in their lives and they cannot work anymore, they are disabled. So these things we have to take care of. So Rupa Goswami spent money in such a way that he also gave, kept for his emergencies, gave it for the brahmanas, so for his family members. So we have our family, but also larger devotee family. So in this way, we can spend the money, but we have to be again careful in that thing. One time I was very enthusiastic that, then there were people coming to Bhakti Vriksha, and there was one guy, he was chanting 16 rounds, and I helped him in such a way that, he wanted to actually borrow. Then I gave him, and he never returned that money, and he left. And so this guy, he was not an Indian guy, not from India. So I didn't bother to ask him again, because I gave him in good faith and he left, right? So then I thought, I gave with a good intention. He had some need. He was from some other country and he wanted it for green card application. So he got his green card and everything, but he never came and he never paid back. So now I'm careful, right? Who we should give. So, but we should have some discrimination, but we should also try to give charity for those who are going to use it for advancement in Krishna consciousness, and that's our charity. So this is how we can, give charity, whatever percentage we can, but we need to understand, but it is required for grihasthas, because we are making the money, and it is a duty for a grihastha to take care of other ashramas. So anyone have any comments, questions on this topic?
I have a question, maybe two questions.
Hare Krishna, Very Prabhu. Please accept my humble obeisances. Yes.
You recognize my voice, huh? First question is, a person gives, a devotee, he's collecting, selling books, and someone gives him charity, but without respect, and not just gives it to him, not really paying too much attention. Now, it's hard to understand how that's the mode of ignorance. I mean, he's still, even if he gives it in a mode of ignorance, he's given it for Krishna consciousness, for spreading Krishna consciousness. There's no higher thing he can give it to. So he's still got a benefit from that. So what is the different results you get from giving charity in different modes of nature?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Prabhu, for that question. So one thing is, a person may be ignorant of how it should be done. When you go on the street, people give, he may not just know anything better, and he may be actually thinking, I'm giving, I'm doing something good. And the examples that at least Sridhar Swami gives is a rich man out of arrogance, right? Out of pride, he considered that the other person who is asking, he considered himself greater than that person, and in that mood he is giving. So in that case, there's actual knowledge of what the action that he is doing. Whereas in the example that you have given, most of the times it's just that person is uneducated and he is out of his ignorance, he's doing that. And at least there's one place, one time, I believe Srila Prabhupada gives this example that 3 people, they commit a crime. And then one guy, they murder somebody. And among them, there's a Brahmana, there's, let's say, 4 people, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, all of them are there. But when it was time for punishment, the Brahmana was given the highest punishment because he knows better. He is properly knowledgeable. So I would see these things in that same light. Someone knowingly doing it out of, giving it to the right person, but disrespectful, then that person may not get any benefit. But someone who's innocent, he just doesn't know any better, because we see that a lot of times, even people may come to temple and they put on the shoes. Oh, I'm sorry. We have to educate them. They'll take off the shoes. Or we may have some paraphernalia, Bhagavad Gita. They come to the class and they just put the Bhagavad Gita on the floor. Or they may be even, I have seen one guy, it was a winter time. He came to my house and he has his boots, and that was his first or second class. My wife met him on the street and he came, and then I gave him a book, and then he was eating prasadam. He took the book and he put the book literally in his boots because he was looking for a place to he put the Bhagavad Gita in the boots, and I was like, then I gently told him, we consider this sacred, you cannot put this here. So, but that was an act of innocence. This man did not know anything. So I would say, based on this example Prabhupada is given, that, a Brahmana gets more punishment than someone else. Krishna sees those things and that person would still get the benefit. But a person who knows better and still he may be giving it to the right person, but with disrespect, he will not get any benefit out of what he has done.
I like your answer.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Very, very good. Same like with a policeman. If a policeman does a crime, he generally gets punished more than just a regular person who does the same crime, because he's supposed to be, supporting the law. I have one other question.
Yes, Prabhu.
I don't think I'll have any more unless you say something else that charity, this is in the purport to the mode of passion. Charity is also sometimes given under some obligation at the request of a superior. So they're saying that's in the mode. So what if a superior tells them, you give money to the Hare Krishnas? So is that mode of passion or is it transcendental?
So in this case, the recipient can be right. The recipient can be right. But if there is expectation of return, then it's in the mode of passion. However, in the example you have given, if that person who is giving on the instruction of superior, if he has no grudging feeling that, oh my gosh, I'm obligated because he's told, then that's not a problem. If he is inspired to give, then obviously it will be transcendental. If he inspired to give, the superior may have just inspired him to give, then at that point he's educated and then he's giving it for a cause. This is more of grudging, and the Sanskrit word pariklishtam. He's doing out of really this obligation that, oh my gosh, I have to give because he told me, because I have some other thing that I'm going to get out of the superior. If I disrespect the superior, that means I may lose something else in the future. There is something attached over there. So when that mood is there, then that's in the mode of passion. But if sometimes superiors may inspire. For example, we have different projects, our own projects, say TOVP or something else, or we have Bhadra campaign, and the leaders are, encouraging everybody, inspiring everybody to do it. And we feel inspired and do it, then that's fine. The problem comes when it's done grudgingly.
Acha.
Thank you, Prabhu. Anyone else?
So, Prabhu, it is said that Vaishnavas are Paradukha Dukhi. And then
Yes.
they are, and we see that there are so many people suffering for the want of money, for the want of food. And if we only donate to Brahmins or our temple, we don't care about the poor people, then how does that really work?
Very good question, Ganpati Govinda Prabhu. Actually, this is an excellent question. This was on my list to talk about. I'm glad you mentioned this. In the Bhagavatam, there is one sloka, Tapyante Lokatapena. This is the quality of a devotee. Tapyante, even austerity is called tapas. It comes from the word tap. It literally means heat, right? Tapa means heat. So this suffering, tapyante, a devotee suffers lokatapena. By the suffering of the world, a devotee literally suffers. And we see Lord Shiva, actually I think this is mentioned in the context with Lord Shiva, when there was a churning of the ocean of milk, there was so much poison that came out. And when that poison came out, the demigods, they go to Lord Shiva to ask him to accept this poison. And he takes permission of Mother Parvati, and then he takes that poison. In that context, this verse is mentioned, Tapyante Lokatapena. The devotees, they also suffer by seeing the suffering of the world. So when this poison came out, this is so powerful that, practically it will kill everything in this world, this poison. So therefore, they have to be saved. So in that case, it's not that all of the entire world, they were devotees or anything like that, but Lord Shiva, he took it upon himself to save the world by taking that poison. So from that example, it's understood that a Vaishnava, like you're saying, he feels bad when others are suffering. Say if people are dying without food, it is our responsibility to help them to keep their body and soul together. It is very, very important to save the life. Even for a devotee's own purpose, this is from Chanakya, that the first priority is save yourself, means live your life. You must live. That's why in the dharmas, if you are about to die, there are certain exceptions on what you can do. When the death comes, you can even eat meat. I mean, if you have to die, you don't have anything to eat, you can even eat meat. But start with something that's already dead, right? So there are all these injunctions, but there are also, when there are certain circumstances, there are other injunctions as well. I heard that Srila Prabhupada, when he was preaching in Japan, of course now there's lots of food supply chain everywhere. On an island, you can grow, but if what you're growing is not enough and you don't have other means, Prabhupada said you can even eat fish. But he said, don't kill cows. So for time, place, and circumstances, there are adjustments. So where I'm getting at is when there is a question of preserving life, it's devotee's responsibility to make sure the people are properly fed. And one of the roles of a Brahmana is a Brahmana has to guide Kshatriya. So a Brahmana has to guide the king, and it is the king's responsibility that nobody goes hungry in his kingdom. When Yudhishthira Maharaj was ruling, when Lord Ramachandra was ruling, it was so nice. What to speak of hungry? Even there is, somebody has some disease that they shouldn't be getting, and they would go to the king. So, but who guides the king? The Brahmana should guide the king. So in other words, there is responsibility on devotees to make sure people are fed properly, right? So we may work with the government and make sure they have the food. And we also go and, for example, the earthquake happened in Sri Lanka. Devotees were out there distributing prasadam when it comes to that thing. But at the same time, we are not just food distribution something, right? Our goal is to spread Krishna consciousness. That's our main goal. And that's the purpose for which we do charity. But at the same time, we do understand that we have this responsibility to keep people alive, so that that life is precious and it can be used for advancement in Krishna consciousness. Is that okay, Prabhu?
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu. I have one more thing, Prabhu. This is more in terms of the society that we live in, the ISKCON society. So when I was in Pune earlier, I was part of the Pune congregation, and there I had, there is counselor system in most of the Indian temples there.
Yes.
So I had my own counselor, and I was in good terms with another counselor there. So when I came to America and I joined this congregation, the other counselor, he reached out to me and he requested me to make some donation for the Pune temple. So in the counselors have their own targets every year. They have to get so much donations. So
Yeah.
I made the donation, and at that time, my own counselor reached out to me and said that you should first take care of your local temple, and then you should think about giving to other temples. So, are there any specific guidelines that are given by either, say, the senior sannyasis, Vaishnavas, or by GBC?
maybe Pyari Mohan Prabhu will have a better answer for this.
Well, I mean, I would say that you really first, there's a saying in America, charity begins at home. I don't know if they have anything like that in India, but that's the first thing. If your temple is doing really well, then you can give to other things. But the first thing is you should.
Prabhupada said that too. I mean, I think he said that in term when they were distributing Mahaprasad or something. They were saying like they were giving it to people other than the temple
Oh yes, he
devotees.
did. That's right.
He said charity begins at home.
Right.
He said give it to our devotees first.
You have to. What's the use of just supporting some temples all over the place, and then your temple falls apart?
Yes, yes. Very good examples. Thank you. I also remember one, particularly, I guess this is general even now, is when Srila Prabhupada established BBT, and he would give books for the temples for a discount, and then the temples could keep 50% of the profit of the books, and the purpose so that it can support the local yatra. So Prabhupada took that into consideration, that books are one of the means, because in those days the money was coming through book distribution, and therefore it was used for the local temple. And now we may have different other means, but the same principles should apply, because Prabhupada did want that each yatra should have funds.
Also, in the U.S., they have the GBCs have created rules where people cannot come and collect for outside of the U.S. It's also illegal for people to come and collect for outside the U.S. unless they establish a corporation, for instance, where in the corporation bylaws it says the money can be given to certain projects outside, the same nonprofit organizations. Like the TOVP has established such a corporation in the U.S., or there may have been already a corporation, and then they're getting the money. So it's legally coming in to a charitable organization here, and it's legally allowed to be sent to a charitable organization somewhere else. But I know people aren't allowed to, and people who are doing it online are not allowed to. And I know Kuladri, he has found different things going on with different people, and checking with them what's going on, and talking to their supervisors that they're not allowed to do this. So it's actually against ISKCON law or rules that they do this. Of course, people do a lot of things, but you're not supposed to do it. And even in America, you shouldn't be going to another congregation to approach them for for money. We've never approached anyone outside of our temple. People donate to us from all over because they were part of our temple and they like our temple and they still send money. But I never even thought of asking when we first started the temple. I never even thought of asking people I knew from other temples if they want to help support us. We just went out, sold books, and used the money to pay for the books and support the temple. So I don't like that people do that, but you know, you have to get your temple maintained by the local community, not by trying to get it from somewhere else. That means you're just expanding beyond your means. You shouldn't be expanding that much. And you have to be practical. Prabhupada said he established each temple to be autonomous, that they're responsible for themselves. You know, except for big projects like the TOVP. That's something that the whole world should be behind and try to help.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Prabhu. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing those. If I may add, it's also, it creates enthusiasm in devotees to reach out to local communities, because we are a preaching mission, and if we become content with some outside money, and you know,
Right.
we are not encouraging people, because by giving charity they will advance spiritually, so we are not giving opportunity to local people to advance spiritually. By going out to reaching out to local people, then we are doing our dharma of preaching locally, because that's what Prabhupada wanted. And if we look for this easy way out, then we are just trying to cheat in our responsibilities, in our duties. Yeah. Thank you very much, all the Vaishnavas. It's 8 o'clock now, so I'll stop here. Thank you very much for your association today, participating in this. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Haribol, very nice class. I had 2 or 3 phone calls during a class, but what I heard was very nice.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Haribol, Prabhu.